The Australian Football League has again been embroiled in a sexual assault scandal, with St Kilda's Steven Milne having been accused of 4 counts of rape from an alleged incident in 2004. Alarmingly, the Footy Show's panellist Sam Newman has added more fuel to the fire, last night calling rape a misdemeanour offence in relation to the incident. Victorian Women's Trust Communication and Policy Advocate Sarah Cappa has said Sam Newman's comments are dangerous as it discounts the seriousness of this sexual assault.
It's just rubbish, really. I checked out the definition of misdemeanour just following his comments, and I'd like to note that it's seen as a minor wrongdoing or a non-indictable offence. And, you know, when you traditionally think of a non-indictable offence, you think of like a traffic infringement or something like that. And it goes against sort of, you know, every progressive direction we've been trying to take with our justice system for a long time. And, you know, fortunately in Victoria, rape is considered one of the most serious crimes in terms of the Crimes Act. It's listed as one of the most serious, and it's listed up there with murder and attempted murder. And, you know, also if you look at the Victims of Crimes Assistance Act in Victoria, rape is considered a Category A offence. So it doesn't get any bigger than that in terms of the recognition of how serious an offence it is, and as it should be. So, you know, what do I think of his comments? I think they're absolute rubbish.
Ms Cappa said Newman's statement is particularly dangerous as it threatens to consolidate ideologies of gender inequality in Australia.
You know, he is a public figure. He's very well known, particularly in Victoria. He's, you know, as I mentioned, he's had form on all sorts of issues, from racism to sort of really blatant sexism. And yet he continues to stay on the Footy Show and continues to get away with saying these rubbish comments.
Following the charge against Milne earlier this week, he was issued an indefinite suspension from playing on the field from the AFL, yet St Kilda's football club coach, Scott Waters, has today told the media that he expects that Milne will be playing within the month. Ms Cappa said the treatment of alleged sexual offenders within the AFL is both distorted and unfair.
If we look at it sort of generally, these sorts of cases where there's some sort of sexual offence allegation against a footballer from a big club, from any code in Australia, whether it's AFL, you know, you look at the sort of the contrast in the treatment for the perpetrator versus sort of the victim, and what tends to happen is whoever the allegation is made against, they sort of get totally enveloped by the protection of the club. You know, they get legal and financial support. They get the top QCs in town. You know, there's probably no other organisation or workplace other than probably the churches that I can think of that sort of behaves in this unprecedented way. And then, by contrast, you look at what the woman gets or the victim gets, and she might get the support of family and friends. We don't necessarily know that. That's also a bit tricky too, because, you know, there's an incredible sort of shame associated with sexual offences. They don't get any legal support. Well, whatever legal support they need, they have to pay for. And, you know, then there's the whole sort of act of the justice system and going through the justice system and having to sort of relive the abuse in some ways. So it's incredibly distorted sort of what happens in these cases.
Following the 2004 allegations made against Milne, AFL players were required to undertake respect and responsibility training, which educated the players on issues such as consent and alcohol. Ms Cappa said this incident calls for the AFL to order people related to the football industry, such as Newman, to undertake similar sexual vilification education.
Yeah, I mean, they run a respect and responsibility campaign, the AFL, that basically teaches them about respectful relationships, and this actually was brought into place after the allegations for this particular case were first aired back in 2004. So that's when the AFL actually developed a sort of respect and responsibility campaign that they put all their players through, and, you know, it makes them sort of talk about issues of consent and alcohol and all those sorts of things. So they're definitely, the AFL is as an organisation is doing this sort of work. So, you would think that there would be scope for people involved in football and commentating on the code. You would think that the same thing should happen when someone says something grossly sexist and wrong, that they should actually be sent off to some sort of gender equity education program.
The World Health Organization has released a report which reveals that 1 in 3 women worldwide will be subject to physical or sexual assault, with 38% of female murders having been committed at the hands of their partners. Ms. Cappa said that popular Australian bodies such as the AFL have a responsibility to the public to stand firm against sexual assault against women in order to break down the culture that feeds this statistic.
Yeah, we need people like the AFL and even the St Kilda Football Club taking strong stances on this and demonstrating to the community that they don't tolerate violence against women in any form.